Who do we have with us today?
My name is Janien Tucker. I am a living testimony, an entrepreneur, and a licensed general contractor.
All right, and where you from?
Whew. Now that is a spectrum question because I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. I was raised in Georgia for 19 years. I took my first steps in Seoul, Korea. And after Seoul, Korea, we went to Panama City, then back to South Carolina. So I'm from a lot of different places.
Yeah. You took your first steps in Korea. How's that?
My father was a Vietnam vet,
Oh, gotcha.
so that's where he was stationed. So as soon as I was able to get on an airplane, I was flown over there, and I stayed long enough to take my first steps there.
Gotcha. All right, so on today's episode, you actually heard about the channel and you approached me and you said you wanted to tell your story.
Yes, it's just because I've been, like I always tell my children, if you put me in a room with about, I would say, 1 million people, I have a pain that I've shared with everyone there.
Gotcha.
Everyone there. Like it's so extensive to the point to where I was telling my mother's friend about some of the stuff that I had gone through, and she called me a jinx.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to tell my story just to make sure that other people who are trying to cope know that they are not alone. There are so many people trying to share their stories, but when you have a platform that can reach across borders, you definitely want to take the opportunity to let them know you're not the only one. Better days can come.
Yep, and that's exactly why we created this channel. Just for that reason, to show people we are a lot more alike than we may think.
Right,
So the
right.
fact that you approached me and you wanted to tell your story, you can start from any part of your story that you would like to talk about. Really, the floor is yours, and then we just go back and forth from there.
Okay. So I like to give people the nutshell, but for today, I'm just going to start from my earliest memory. Okay.
Okay.
So my earliest memory is sitting on my living room floor, cutting up pictures of my father, taking the head off the pictures. And so as I got older, every night I would have this recurring dream about me being in my crib, right? And so I'm in this crib, and then I hear somebody coming. So then I look and I'm real excited. I'm jumping up and down in my crib. And then this shadow comes in. And once the shadow picks me up, I have this black screen. The dream is still going on, but it's a black screen. And during that black screen, it would just be me thinking of different ways to unalive my father, right?
Gotcha.
So every day I went to sleep. That was my dream. It was nonstop, right? So I had a little experience with the church as a child via my grandmother. So my grandmother, it was mandatory. If we didn't have plans to be out of town, we had to go with her to church. My uncle was the pastor. So I can't say that I didn't have exposure to church, but I can say I didn't take it seriously because I was already having symptoms of CSA,
And what is CSA for those that don't know?
child sexual abuse, childhood sexual abuse.
Gotcha.
And so by the time I realized there was an issue, my mother had this boyfriend. I was probably like 7 or 9 years old. I was 7 years old when we met, but I was about 9 years old. I was about to go to middle school, and they had this sex education class. It was the first one they were going to have, the first one in the county, right? So I'm sitting there, and this lady's like, okay, how many of you have been touched here? What about here? What about here? So when I raised my hand for 2 out of 3, they pulled me out of class. And so they took me to the guidance office, and I had to tell them, what happened. I was like, well, my mother's boyfriend, he touches me here, here, just
Yeah.
wherever he wants to. And she was like, where? I said, on his gazebo in the front yard. So during this time, while he was doing this, when they called my mom, she flew over to his house. Oh, she's in a rage, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing I remember about the rest of that day is they argued until they went in the room, and then we didn't go home until after midnight.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm talking about? So, and while he would do it, across the street would be his daughter and her husband sitting on the porch watching.
Yeah.
And so it was about that time that I realized who my mom was. Like, she had always told me, like, oh, you're stupid. You know, I wish I would have had an abortion. But mind you, from the time I entered the school realm, I've been on the honor roll up through my bachelor's. I've not had so much as a C. You understand what I'm talking about? But she would just say demeaning things to me on the regular. Okay. And so when I would say about 11, I had my cycle start, let's say 6 p.m. on a Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, my cousins come by to see my brother, right? They say, oh, well, they want to talk to him about some music. They want to, get some things lined up because he was a DJ at the time. And so I'm like, all right, y'all can come in because this is my cousin, right?
Yeah.
So my cousins ended up beating and raping me in my room while my brother was in the room next door. He said he couldn't hear anything. And so I had to go through that. And I think that day, I just kind of, when I went in the bathroom, I just remember thinking, if there is a God, you need to open up this floor and just let me just die. You know what I mean? Because I always prided myself on being strong. I can fight anybody. I'm not afraid. You know what I'm saying? And so for it to happen, for them to double team me, beat me, and then take something that was not theirs, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was crippling to the point of where I just wanted to die. Like you have embarrassing moments where you just want to leave the atmosphere. So mine was like, I just didn't want to come back. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanted it to be over.
Yeah.
My mom is the one who actually, they had my room door locked. So she burst through the room door and she proceeds to fight them. I'm fighting them. She's fighting them. Once I see that she has them backed up into the wall, I go to the bathroom, lock the door, and I laid on the floor. And I laid there until the police got there, and they was like, they pretty much got away, so you might as well just open the door. They're not here. And so I had to go get a rape kit. My rape kit was so humiliating because it was the first one at that hospital. There were residents everywhere. 15 people came to witness my rape kit. 8 of them were men. It was the most humiliating moment at that age that you could just even think, you know what I mean? And then, so during this whole process, I'm still having this nightmare. So it's at this point, after this happened, that I have just decided I'm going to be the best fighter I can be. I'm going to let anger have everything it wants to have. I'm going to perfect it. So I would just fight to be fighting. I don't care if it's your daddy, your mama, your granny. If I can fight them, I was fighting. And so that became my protection from it happening again, because I was this close to not being gang raped. This close. But I got tired. So then once I decided that, I just, everywhere that I went, it didn't matter if you scuff my shoes, if you bump into me, if you look at me wrong.
You ready?
So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I grew up that way. Now, there are lots of symptoms of childhood sexual assaults, right?
Yeah.
So it could be anxiety, it could be depression, it could be anger, it could be promiscuity, sleeping around, it could be dressing provocatively, it could be anger, it can be, these are the long-term effects. You understand what I'm saying? Because this child must grow, right? So the lucky ones are the ones who have the family that rallies around them and it's like, come over here, let us help you through this
Yeah,
situation.
let us love on you real quick.
Right, until
Yeah.
you get to a point to where you don't need us anymore, and that, so that never happened for me. I got the continuous mother banter. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
She had told all of my family that I had lied on her boyfriend, and she cried at his funeral. She told everybody at the funeral, um, the one that molested me. So she told everyone at the funeral, at his funeral, that I was the liar, but the other little girl whose mother was getting ready to prosecute him.
Oh, so he had multiple. You've
Multiple.
done this multiple times. Oh, okay.
I'm gonna put it to you this way: 6 months from the day that he last touched me, he died, and it was the day before he was doing court for the other little girl. The day before.
How did he die? Just health problems?
Heart
Or?
attack. He was old.
Yeah.
So while I'm feeling relieved and excited, everybody there is being told that I'm a liar. I just made mine up with the other little girl. She was definitely telling the truth. And this is my own mother. You know what I'm saying? So she blamed me for my father not being around. And we'll get to that in a second. So as I grew up, like I said, I was involved in anger. I let anger just rule my life. Like, I didn't trust people. So even though I was in relationships, I wasn't. Like, he would be in love, but I would just be like, yeah, he my boo thing. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
he got a ring on my finger. He can come, or whatever like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to love, right? My children, I've told them this repeatedly, saved my life twice each, right? So when my daughter was born, I had already tried to commit suicide 6 times. 6 bottles and bottles of pills. So before she was born, I had just had a miscarriage. And I had a miscarriage because of a suicide attempt. That suicide attempt caused the miscarriage.
Gotcha.
6 months to the day, I was pregnant again with my daughter. So this time I'm like, I need to mellow. I need to chill. I need to relax. So she saved me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as she's growing, I'm like, man, life is life, and let me, my mama take care of her. I just need a break. I need to, leave for a little while. But it got to the point to where the pressure was on me so much, just dealing with my mom, my family, not having anyone that I could really rely on. Like, I was popular in Atlanta, but I wasn't trusting anyone. So I didn't trust anyone to unload what I was carrying. I didn't want to talk about my pain because who wants to talk about being molested by their mother's boyfriend? Who wants to talk about your own family beating and raping you in your own room? Nobody wants to hear that. It sounds like, they would care, but in my situation, it was just not available. My friends were my age, they couldn't really tell me much.
Yeah.
So as I got a little bit older, like I would say the beating and the rape happened about 11, 12. So the reason why I brought up the first day administration was because my cycle came on 6 p.m. on Friday. Saturday, by 6 p.m., I had already been beaten and raped by my cousin. Yeah. So the first time I realized what womanhood was, I had a really terrible crash course in what womanhood was. And so I told my mom, I said, all these kids around here want to fight me. I need to go live with my dad. So I gave her the hardest time. Like, for as much as she was tearing me down, I was defiant. Like, I had decided enough is enough. This area of the world, I need to go. Where's my dad? Call him. Get him here. We need to go see him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we get to Atlanta and we move in with my father, and he just goes off on my mom. How you let them beat her and rape her? And James was in the room, so he's getting on both of them. Like, how did y'all let this happen to her? And blah, blah, blah. Anyway, after I heard him kind of coming to my defense. I was like, you heard what my dad said,
Yeah.
as a child, because you don't really have a voice as a child. You really got to just stay, in your lane.
Yeah.
So having a parent actually standing up for me was just what I needed. But I was already in the throes of the symptoms of my childhood sexual assault. So I went to this middle school, and when I got there, this student on our way out of orientation to our classes called me the N-word. So when we lined up in the hallway, I stepped on the back of his shoe. When he went down to, fix his shoe, I just tore him up.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, the next time you call somebody that word, think of me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyway, at that particular school, I was a major bully. I ran track, so I got away with everything. Any sport that you played at that middle school was just like a black card. You could do whatever you wanted to do. So by the fact that I was the fastest on that team, it was just ridiculous. They let me get away with so much. When I think about it now, it was just terrible.
Yeah.
But it was all symptomatic of I got to learn how to protect myself. I was lifting weights. In middle school, I was lifting about 215, which was more than I weighed. And so I got my strength from my father as far as genetics. Okay. So it was around this time I done got professional at being a bully at this middle school that I met a guy. He was older than me. He was like, yo, I want to take you to my prom,
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So his mom let me borrow one of her dresses, and I went, and his classmates was like, you came with him? Like he was like the nerd or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, yeah. And so they were trying to tell me, oh, he's a nerd. He's the geek. I'm like, well, I'm smart too. So
Yeah.
I don't really see it that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you might be the popular kid, but you might be making C's and D's. So not too much, but I had fun. Okay.
Yeah.
So we get in the limo. We go back to his house. His mom is waiting on us. I change back into my clothes that I went over there with. And I go to my homegirl's house and I spend the night. A couple of weeks go by, and the best friend I spent the night with is like, oh, this guy is telling everybody that he slept with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That night that y'all went to prom, but you was with me. So, it didn't make sense. Right. So then when I saw him, he was going to the mailbox to check his mail. And me and my homegirls just rolled up on him, and we just we let him have it, because one thing you're not gonna do is lie. So in the process of us beating on him, he done got up off the ground. He's going home. He's bloody. And then so every couple of steps, I hit him again. You know what I'm saying? Every couple of steps, I'm just tagging him. So right before he got to his steps to go up the steps to his apartment, you know what I'm saying, I kicked him in his back. So his mom is on their balcony and she's watching, and she was like, what are you doing? You were just in my house, and I let you borrow a dress. And that's the actual son while he's wearing this butt whipping, right?
Yeah.
So the whole time I'm feeling like somebody's watching me, right? But I don't know who it is, right? So my friends had already stopped because they didn't have anger issues like me, because they weren't, mishandled.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking back to her house, and this guy grabs me. I'm talking about hand over mouth, snatches me, takes me into this apartment across the street. And so now I'm like fighting, right?
Yeah.
Man, this man is cracking up laughing. And then so he puts me on the ground. He stands in the doorway. And so I said, oh, so you want some of this kid stuff? And so I punch him with everything I got. Because I remember the last time somebody tried to keep me in the room,
Yeah.
Let me start early, And so by this time I had worked up my stamina and fighting. So I'm like, I'm ready for you this time. You know what I'm saying? Because I felt like it was just this spirit chasing me. They just wanted different people to assault me. Come to find out, it was just an 18-year-old guy that liked me. local kingpin, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, wanted to get my attention because he saw me beating up the guy. He wanted to be my boyfriend. So this boyfriend and I became very close, right? We became very close because his rules were no matter where you are, one of my men will be with you. And we, like him and I, can't have sex until I'm 18. Like he was adamant about it.
Yeah.
But everybody was told, like, this is my girl. This is my shorty. So
Yeah.
at the age of 13, I had my own car. I had lots and lots of money in my pocket. I had my homegirls draped out. I'm draped out. Mind you, I'm in elementary school. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So because he had made the rule that we can't have sex, I had decided with his homeboy, you know, that apartment where we first met, we're going to get it dressed up, you know, put a bed in there, and I'm going to kind of like force him to. I'm in
Yeah.
the throes of my symptoms of my assaults. So now I want to be sexually active because it was forced on me. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? So I'm trying to force this man to go against what he knows to be right because of my symptoms. So I make a plan with his best friend and we done got it set up. So we got the bed in there. I done bought him some clothes and some shoes and a card. It's all laid out. I got rose petals. Like, this is going to be my choice this time. You understand? Because he's been so good, he done bought me a car. Anything I want is just whatever. Whatever me and my friends want, he got it. You know, let me go ahead and do this for him.
Yeah.
Willingly, you know, because I'm like, shoot, everybody trying to get it. They're trying to force it. Let me decide, you know, now. But see, I'm 13 and he's 18, so he wasn't going for it any other way. So what, he was very jealous, and I told his best friend, I said, what we're going to do is you leave out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care where you go. But 5 minutes later, I'm going to the apartment, and when he follows me, like I knew he would, then, you know, I'll just make sure that he knows all of this is for him, for us, blah, blah, blah. So his best friend went there to light the candles. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So 5 minutes later, I don't know what else he did, but 5 minutes later, when we got there, I go to open the door. And when I open the door, he's standing right there. All I saw was his face open up and splash all over me. My boyfriend behind me done shot him in the face. Then he asked no questions. Then they asked a question. You understand?
And he was helping out.
Bruh, he killed his best friend because he thought me and the best friend were meeting up.
Yeah.
So he snatches me up. He takes me back to his spot. We get there. And then he sends another one of his men to go look at the apartment. You want to know, you know, what all I had in there for his best friend.
Yeah.
So he told the guy, clean everything out, bring it to me. So when he brings everything out, his best friend is like twice his size. He's like big guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But he's more like slender, like my size back then. And then so when he got the stuff and he brought it in the room and he's looking, now mind you, we're in this heated argument. So when his foot soldier comes back in and gives him the stuff that's in the apartment, he realizes that what the plan had been.
Yeah.
But by this time, his best friend is dead.
I say what's done is done now.
Right. But they have been close since children. You understand me? So my ploy to get my boyfriend to let me give him mine voluntarily had just gone completely left. It had gone completely wrong. Because now not only is his best friend gone, but my boyfriend is glitching. Because all he can think of is, I just killed my brother over you. So now I can't go nowhere. I can't ride in my car. I can't, you know, do anything but go to school and come back.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, that's it. You know? So a few weeks later, I'm like, you know what? I'm finna go to the candy store. Bump you. You know what I'm saying? I'll be back in 10 minutes. I said 10 minutes, you know, because now I'm like, I feel kind of closed in now. You know what I'm saying? So I tell him I'm finna go to the store, and he's like, "Don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere." You know what I'm saying? So now it's like men can't even be in his spot. Like they used to meet up there. Like I've seen so many people lose their life on that living room floor. It's pathetic. But in this moment, after his best friend is killed, there's no one there. It's just me and him. There's someone outside the door. Of course, everybody's scattered. His men would be in the trees, like snipers, like in the trees, right? So nobody was inside. So I'm like, I'm finna go to the candy store. So I go to the candy store. In my mind, I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm finna get. And so I'm telling him as I'm getting my stuff together, like my purse, put my shoes on. I'm just going to get some, M&M's, some Airheads, some Lemonhead, whatever the heck children at 13 really want. And so I get to the door, I open it. I get on the other side of the door, I close it, and all I hear is pow. So I go back in, all you see is the gun drop. So he's still alive.
Yeah.
But barely. I have just enough time to rush from the front door to him and let him know that I love him. And he was gone. Right? So this is all at the age of 13. So once he dies, like I think I glitched, because the next memory I have is being in this house that I'm unaware of, never been to before. And then just some girl is bathing me. But then I don't come out of it because I'm like, there. You know what I'm saying? Like I done lost my best friend, who was shot in the face, the best friend. That was my best friend too. And I done lost my boyfriend. So now I'm just like, when I willingly want to be with a man, they die.
Yeah, I might say, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm still in the throes of my symptom of my assaults, but at the same time, I'm trying to function. So I'm glitching because my covering is gone. He had this shelter over me. Like, I'm not going to touch you. Nobody going to touch you. Here go your car. Here go a stack of money. All you need to do is be pretty. It's gone. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wake up fully, and it's one of his foot soldiers, the next in line, number 3. He's there. This girl is there. There's 3 kids. Come to find out, this is my boyfriend's baby mama. I'm in her house.
Yeah.
That's their 3 kids. They weren't together anymore because she cheated on them. But she is still like a queen pin where she is. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't know her. So I wake up in her house and I'm like, who the hell are you? Why am I here? And then so when the foot soldier comes up to me, I remember everything. And so I'm just like, man, get me up out of here, man. You got me in with the girl, man. Man, I'm just tripping.
Yeah.
So he's like, calm down, calm down. So when I go to leave out the door, because I'm like, you're not moving fast enough, you need to come on. And so before I could even get to the door, the baby mama wraps me up in her arms and I just break down crying. I stayed there for probably a good 3-4 hours crying. Because she was like, this girl ain't even let it go yet. I haven't cried yet.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there like, all right. When I left, she wanted to give me a duffel bag of money, the car that I had, and whatever else I wanted, Like she wanted to give me a part of the business. I said, I just want to go home. I want none of this because it ain't going to bring them back. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like none of that was really important. The covering was what was important. And I messed it up trying to rush it, So it was then that I kind of, in my mind, started my bouts of celibacy. Throughout my life, I take time and I just stopped having sex. I stopped wanting to be around. Like April 18th of this year will be 9 years celibate. Because sometimes it's just good to focus on self, right? So here I am, 13. I go to my dad's place. We get there. He's telling me, okay, we're getting ready to move. So not only are we moving, we're moving from my best friend, my girlfriends that I'm very close with, who knew the boyfriend that killed himself and the guy that was killed. I'm moving away from all of them. I'm going to a new school, high school. And then so we moved. He got this big old fat girlfriend. He got this fat girlfriend. She don't like to move. She don't like to do. Once she realized that I can cook and clean, she didn't want to do nothing.
Yeah.
She just wanted to call me and my brother and gossip on the phone all day.
Yeah.
That was it. So because she got a check from her parents every month, she didn't have to work. So her and my dad was actually like a step down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so during this time, remember I was supposed to go to track, but then I was cramping so bad. I was like, man, I'm going home. And so on my way out of the school to the nurse's office, another student calls me this N-word. He's on the football team, but he did not play again after we had our fight, and put it like that.
Yeah.
And so his parents was trying to prosecute me for the damage done to him. But I'm like, if he wouldn't have said this word, he would be okay. You understand what I'm saying? So my dad is like, when you done with them, come to my job, which is at the start of our complex, for me to get to his townhouse. So when I get there, I'm barely standing. I don't walk about 3 miles, cramping, hurting. So when I get there, I'm on the countertop like this. I'm like, that don't feel good. He was like, all right, I'm going to give you something. So he reached behind him and he gets me some pills, especially made for women that time of the month, Midol. And so I was like, what is this? You know, like, I'm in pain. So he's like, take it. It's specially designed for what you're going through. And so when I get there, I go to my room, I lay down. So this lady calls me. Mind you, I done laid down. I done closed my door. I'm obviously home because I don't feel good. Right? So when I go in there, she calls me. She wants a sandwich, you know. And so she was like, get your tail up and fix me my sandwich. So she comes all the way out the master bedroom into my room. She's pushing down on my shoulder like, I said, get up.
Yeah.
So when I got up. I got up swinging. You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point, it's going to be you on my bed, and I'm going back to bed. So my dad comes home, and he's like, well, you got to go back and stay with your mom because you're too violent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had this picture in my mind, like I'm this monster. All I do is fight. All I do is fight. I done forgot all about this decision to be angry so I could protect myself because I had a covering and I didn't need it. You know what I'm saying? But now it's back and it's got a hair trigger, right?
Mm-hmm.
So after I leave there, I end up smoking weed. I end up forging my mom's name so I can get on the work study program. I go to school Mondays to pick up my assignments. I go back Fridays to take my tests and drop off my assignments. Straight A student. So they just letting me do what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, instead of being on track like elementary school, I'm in high school in Lithonia, Georgia, and they're just letting me do what I want to do because I'm the top 5 of the school.
Yeah.
Grade-wise. So I done decided to write my mom's name on there. I'm working at Wendy's. I decided I'm going to get me a place. Right?
Yeah.
And so I decided I'm going to get a place right behind my job. And so when I go in there, I'm asking, well, what do you need to have an apartment here? And she was like, first of all, you need your parents. I was like, I came in for my parents. Just let me know, what you need. So she tells me you need a certain amount for the application fee. You need a certain amount for the deposit. So anyway, I'm sitting in my job at Wendy's and I'm like, man. So I'm soaking. And one of my regulars comes in and he's like, what's wrong with you? And I said, I'm trying to get this apartment, but they talking about they want my parent. My mom is not going to do it. She's not going to let me get the apartment. So he signs for the apartment.
Yeah.
And I get the apartment. But he brings me a living room suite, coffee table, just all the fixings. I got a brand new set of, all this stuff right here came from his wife.
Yeah.
He done took everything from his wife under the guise of, I'm going to buy you some new stuff, so all this stuff got to go. You understand what I'm talking about? But he gives me everything from the bedroom suite in the master bedroom, the extra bedroom suite for the extra bedroom, to the living room suite, to the dining room table. All of that was hers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, I'm buying her new stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't really matter. I just told her I threw it away.
Yeah.
Bet. He said, but I did buy you new cookware because I know you like to cook. So I got a new cook set of pots, pans, silverware. And then he gave me like $300 for like towels and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, bet. So then the rest of it, I did myself. I used to throw parties. Me and my underage friends would drink, pass out on the floor, get up and go to school the next morning. Well, they went. If it wasn't a Monday or Friday, I was just cleaning up our mess, you know. Shoot, man, it was the good life for like a hot second. It was the first time in my life where I felt safe. I mean, since my boyfriend's safe. But even above and beyond that, safe. You understand? I mean, just safe. Yeah. There's nobody coming in this space but me and who I invite. I felt safe. And here I am, this 15-year-old working at Wendy's. I done saved up my money. I decided to get an apartment. But then I went to school. I ran away from home because my mom laid into me about something. Don't ask me what. It was normal for her to be like, well, get out of my house. You know, like she kicked me out, I would say, in my lifetime before the age of 15, she kicked me out more than 20 times. And most of the time, I didn't have anywhere to go until this time. So this time, I just stayed gone. So a month after this argument, she done got a missing persons report on me. You know, she's going through the channels like, oh, my poor darling, she's missing. Help me. And then I go to school because I'm like, I'm going to just pick back up. I can catch up. That ain't going to take no problem. You know, I've been gone about a month. That should probably take me about 3 or 4 days. I'll be right back where I'm supposed to be, you know. So I go in and all my teachers are like, where have you been? You know, blah, blah, blah. So by the time third period comes, my guidance counselor calls me to the front office. So I go in there and she was like, you need to talk to the assistant principal. It appears that you're missing. So I roll my eyes like, if I'm missing, why am I here? You know what I'm saying? Like, right now. You know what I'm saying? I brought myself to school today. I'm not missing, you know. Yeah. So as I'm in there talking to the assistant principal, an officer comes in. And so at first, you know, it's either fight or flight. And I wasn't the type to run. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm bucking at him like, what you coming in here to do? Arrest me? You finna come arrest me? So he was like, what you talking about? Sit your little narrow tail down, you little girl. You know, so when I finally, you know, calmed down because the assistant principal was my ace. And so she comes around the desk and she puts her arms around my shoulder and she was like, calm your butt down. So I was like, shoot, you know. Yeah. And so he sits there and he's like, tell me why you've been missing. So I tell him, I'm like, she treats me like a dog. And I tell her about what she says to me on a daily basis, how many times she's put me out. And I made the mistake of saying, shoot, that's why I went ahead and got my own place. When I said that, so now he's like, give me the keys to the apartment. Who else is there? And I'm like, it's my apartment. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody there. All this is my stuff, you know. So he was like, and the good part about it was we had just had a party the night before. But before school, I couldn't sleep. So I'm all up and down my place, my townhouse up and down, cleaning. Yeah. So everything is clean. Everything is taken out to the dumpster. And I done cooked breakfast, washed dishes, and then went to school. Yeah. So by the time the officer takes my keys, you ain't got no evidence of nothing except that I lived there. You know what I'm saying? Because there was a lot more going on the night before. So anyhow, the officer says, you have to go back home to your mom. Come with me, you know. So I leave with the officer. And then when I get in the patrol car, I'm sitting in the front. I'm like, I don't like this. I got more assignments to pick up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I got other teachers to see. I got 3 more classes. You're going to hold me up some more. And so he was like, I tell you what, if you promise to stay in school and not to run, you can stay. So I ended up staying in school. You know what I'm saying? So if any teacher reported me not present in their class, he would have been back, is what he told me.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, he meets me at the school. He takes me not even a half a block to my mom's apartment. My mom is there. She's putting on this whole show like, my baby.
Yeah.
Oh, my baby. You found, it's just, I was just like, really? Really, Ma?
Yeah.
Really? I guess because you ain't had nobody cook clean for you. You okay? And so the officer is telling her what she says, X, Y, and Z. And we've already went to her apartment and let the apartment complex know she's underage. This is her apartment, and to clear it back out. So he done messed around and took pictures of my apartment, and he's showing my mom. He said, but her place was immaculate.
Yeah.
Look at, all what she's done in the month that she's been gone. And maybe you should take better care of her. And so she's still trying to hold to this story, like, no, the God in me type of stuff is going on. And I'm sitting here like, so this means I don't have an apartment anymore, is what I'm asking the officer. And he's like, no, you can't live on your own unless you're an emancipated minor. And I'm like, so what do I sign up? And he's telling me all the ins and outs. Like, it has a lot of pros. Like, yeah, you'll be able to go to work and have your own place. But say if my mom dies, you won't be able to inherit from her. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's totally separate. It's a full divorce. Whatever you don't get while you're going, you don't get, So I was like, all right. So I got to just stay here until, I'm old enough. He's like, yeah, keep doing what you're doing. Don't get no more apartments. And the next time your mom kicks you out, you call me.
Yeah.
So for the next few months, he comes by and he's just checking on me. And thankfully, on the days that he came to check on me, I wasn't smoking weed, because that's what I was doing. Because the green helped me focus. It helped me to not be angry when I had these nightmares that are still recurring. All right, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit, because let me just say, after the green started, life pretty much calmed down. I had a lot of friends. Let me see if I fast forward. So I had my daughter. My daughter saved my life, because, like I said, she tried to come 6 months before that, but because of a suicide attempt, I lost her. 6 months to the day, again, she comes back. So I have my little girl now. I'm not thinking about suicide, right? So when she's about 6 months old and I'm weaning her off of being nursed, I meet this guy, and it was supposed to be a one-night stand, but he proposed to me right when we finished. So he had a ring, which was, don't even ask me. We had met a week before. I said, I don't like him. I'm just going to see what he got.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just cut him loose. You know me. You feel me? Like, you can go, bruh. But he had a ring. So I was like, well, maybe this is my opportunity to be covered again. It's not the same man that I had, but at least, So while I'm dating him, how can I put this? I had been out of high school. I had to go to alternative high school. So in that alternative high school, I met a man who reminded me of my dead boyfriend. And we just became sister and brother like this. Like, we was clowning the teacher because he got something wrong on the board. Like, you caught that too? Okay. All right. So this is my brother, right?
Yeah.
And so we're out of high school, and this fiance takes me to the mall because he did something I didn't like. And he was like, okay, just go to the mall. We'll get whatever you want. Yes, you can bring a friend. So we're on that type of time in the small Candler Road flea market. what's the thing called? Candler Road. Well, don't even get me started. But it's the one on Candler Road, that mall. So anyhow, I walk in, my fiance and his two homeboys are in front of us. It's me and his homeboy's cut buddy, who I got in there like my friend, and we're all in this mall. So as I'm going in, somebody grabs me from behind like this, real snug. And I was like, that's my brother. So I turn around and I'm just excited. I'm like, hey, Brian, see you. So this other girl who went to school with us, she had been through so much. Shorty stopped talking. But that was his girlfriend from high school. So when I seen her right there, I just wrapped her up too, like, hey, sis, how you doing? Like, they done got married. She's showing off her ring. And I was like, oh, I'm so proud of y'all. Thank God. You know, she rarely talked. You know what I'm saying? But because of their love and my friendship with him, I got to hear her talk every once in a while. She would have like these one-liners coming in. So anyway, we meet in this mall and I'm all excited. And I'm just going off like, this my brother. So my fiance's cut buddy walks up and tells them she back there talking to some guy. So he spins the block, comes back around, and he walks in between me and my brother, and he shoves my brother. My brother's like, man, I will. And I was like, don't do that. That's my fiance. You know what I'm saying? He ain't got no manners. Just get your wife, meet us in the food court. Don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? He was like, for you, sis, for you, because I don't like this damn all up, you know. And I was like, no, don't do that. That's him. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, it's not like my boo. It's just like, yeah, he's the one with the ring. So, you know, so we go. I'm trying to catch back up with him because he's walked off. And when the female walks back up to me, and I'm like, oh, so now you're back after you done went and snitched. Okay. So you cancel that wild pair of shoes that you wanted. Cancel that. All that's done. Whatever you ain't got right now, your hair and nails done, that's all you get in a day because you talk too much. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So we're headed towards the food court, and the guys are standing right there at the cookie factory, which is like that 4-way intersection in the mall. Yeah. And so he turns around, my fiance, and slaps the taste out of my mouth. Because he's like, who was that? And I was like, oh, him? And he just slapped me like Jesus was coming. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm like, what? I don't drop my purse. His homeboys grab him, and they taking him back. They're like, man, you don't be hitting no female, you know. So while they doing that, this girl's like, she done picked up my stuff, and so I decided to go to the bathroom, check my face, because, bruh, you know what I'm saying? So I'm upset. And so I end up going to the bathroom. I'm okay. So I'm like coming out, and I see these girls who have been playing on my phone. Ended up fighting 2 girls, getting arrested, and I didn't get to see my brother again. I didn't get his number or nothing. The next time I saw him, I was in handcuffs, and him and his wife were coming into the food court. That's the last time I seen my brother. That brother. Yeah. Okay. So I'm about 25. My brother, my biological brother, has had my nephew. And I'm just like the proud auntie. You know, I got my 2 when my son was born. He didn't come after a suicide attempt, but he did come after a miscarriage. Yeah. 6 months to the day, just like his sister. So he's here. My daughter's here. My nephew has just arrived. So I'm like, man, I got 3 kids. I got to hustle up some more. I was doing hair, flipping cars, and working 2 jobs. I did hair in the kitchen. I was buying cars at auction, fixing them up because I had a guy. Yeah. And fixing them up, putting them for sale sign on them, driving them around, selling them. And then I had fast food jobs, working part-time, you know, so I can make sure I'm home when my kids are. All right, so anyhow, my nephew was born. Financially, I'm helping my mom. I'm taking care of my brother. Here comes his nephew. I'm taking care of my 2, taking care of me, right? So there comes a day when the baby mama asks me for something, and I tell her no for the first time. And so about a week later, my brother is supposed to be keeping my kids, and his son, and we end up getting into this huge fight because it's his turn to take the boys because my daughter's in first grade. So he doesn't want to do it. He don't want to wake up. He ain't got no job. He ain't doing nothing. Get your tail up. It's my day off. Get up. I'm still in the house, but get up. Right? So we get into a mild argument. At this time, my nephew's not walking properly because between my brother and his mother, they like to put him in this playpen. If he's not in that playpen, he's probably not at that location. They put him in there so much, it became something that I fought my brother about. Like, let my nephew about this whole playpen. So he doesn't toddle, even though he's 15 months old. He doesn't really know how to walk. So my kids are teaching him how to walk when they have the opportunity, because when I'm home, he has to be out the playpen because he might have to stay there the whole day if I don't come home and take him out the playpen.
Yeah.
Okay. So I leave my son down there. I turn on cartoons. I fix them some breakfast. They had like some grits and toast or something. It was nothing major. And I told my son, if y'all need anything else, just go to the kids' corner. So in the bottom of the refrigerator, the last two shelves was the kids' corner. Because I'm helping in this house, I'm helping my brother, and I got two kids. These last two shelves, they are for my children. You understand me? There's snacks galore, there's juices galore, whatever y'all need after breakfast, go there. So I go back upstairs. At this time, I'm an alcoholic, functioning alcoholic. I drink so much, the package store knew me by first name. When they got a shipment in, they were paging me. You remember pages, right?
Yeah.
They were paging me like, yo, we got some more stuff. And so they paged me and was like, we got some new stuff. And I said, well, I'm not up yet. I'm going to come through when I'm up. But I fixed me a drink. I rolled me a joint. I wasn't even done with the joint, but I had finished like 2 drinks. And so I hear my son scream. Well, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? So on my way downstairs, my son is coming upstairs, but he's holding his arm, right? It took me about 20 good minutes to calm my son down, right? So when I calm him down and I look at his arm, there's a handprint there, a man's handprint there. You understand how much pressure that is for a man's handprint to be on a 2-year-old's arm? That's a lot of pressure. So I'm going downstairs and I get into this argument with my brother, right? This argument lasts for probably like 7 a.m. to about 1 p.m. About 12 p.m., his baby mama calls, hears us arguing, and she's like, I'm on my way, right? She drove an hour and 15 minutes to join in an argument that up until her arrival was nonviolent. It's just 2 siblings arguing. We just gonna say what we want to say, and then, if you want some money, I'm just throw it at him or something. It was gonna work itself out because this is what we do.
Yeah.
So she arrives and she sits down on my sofa that I bought for the house, and she proceeds to join in the argument. The first thing she does is she calls me a B word. And I'm like, Jay, get your baby mama. She done lost her doggone mind. Little money I spent between y'all. Put some respect on it,
Yeah.
So me and my brother keep arguing, and she says it again. I said, okay, I told you. Okay. You don't want to get your children out the yard? But we're still arguing. And so we get to the point to where he calls my son a bastard. And I'm like, you and your girl are not even married either.
Yeah.
So what are you saying? And so that's the point where she gets up off my sofa and she comes over to us. But I'm not focused on her because me and him are like nose to nose, snarling at each other now. Now it's about to get physical. But she's standing right here. My brother is right here, right? So she calls me the B word again. So I turn around to address her finally. Like, look, little girl, you know what I'm saying? I done gave you too much money. You need to sit over there on my sofa and shut the hell up until me and my brother are done arguing. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
Because then nobody called you. You volunteered to come over here. So you could just sit down.
Yeah.
And so Shawty was like, who are you talking to? And so she slaps me. And so right when she slaps me, my brother hits me in my stomach. So I'm like, oh, elbow here, punch there. And so got a 2-for-1 in. My brother's sitting there nursing his bloody nose, and I'm just tearing her up, tearing her little head up, tearing it up. So I done backed you from like here to that island, fighting you just solely at the head, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just about to go in and do some body shots, punch her in her abdomen area. And I realized before I take that first swing, she is literally holding my nephew. At the time that she slapped me, she was holding my nephew.
Yeah.
So this whole time I've been tearing her head up. I didn't even see her holding my nephew. I don't see it until now that I got you up against the wall and I'm really about to go to work. Right? So when I tell her giving me my nephew, she's like, no, I got something in my trunk for you. Don't worry, I'll be right back. So I said, okay. So a couple of months prior, I had this stalker. His name is Bear. I don't even know if he's still alive. But this dude, I shaded him so much at the bar. I was buying my own drinks, bought my own wings, and he was just annoying. I was having a bad day already, but then you trying to be persistent is on my nerve right now. And so I just brushed him. You know what I'm saying? Like as verbally as I could,
Yeah.
So he ended up stalking me. Like everywhere I would go, I would see this red car. You feel me? And so it turned out to be him. So I bought a pistol because of him.
Yeah.
Right? So she's telling me, I got something for you outside of my trunk. Wait right there. You wait right there. So I go upstairs, take my gun out my lockbox, go to the kitchen, grab one of my clips, and take 2 shots in the air. Right?
Yeah.
So she hurries off to the police department and she files a police report. Well, while she's filing the police report, they run her name. She's wanted in several counties for counterfeit checks, cashing them, blah, blah, blah. And so she has to stay just like I got to stay. My mom and my brother come to bail her out, but she can't go. That just means that the next county is coming to pick her up. And that will repeat until, they get through all the counties. So anyway, while we're sitting in jail, I ended up having to be charged with aggravated assault because even though it was a couple of shots in the air, she told the police I shot at her and my nephew. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So instead of me being charged for shooting like this, I was being charged for shooting like this. And so anyhow, I ended up facing 54 years, which created another addiction, cocaine.
Yeah.
So I started sniffing cocaine. I was like, man, 54 years. You know how long 54 years is? 54 years of not being able to go where you want to go, eat what you want to eat, see who you want to see, do what you want to do. 54, like 5 in front of the 4 years, right? So my mind was glitching like, and so I was trying to stop it. And so that was the reason for the cocaine. I needed something stronger than herb because it just wasn't doing the not panic, So my complex, where I had paid money, wouldn't let me come home. So I had to sleep in my car.
Yeah.
So I ended up serving, the judge gave me 5 to serve 1. And so I served that first year, I made a decision while I was in there that I regretted, but that's in the book. So you have to wait to that. But
okay.
After that first year, I was released. I came home. I got an apartment that was Flipper Temple, the one we was talking about, right across the street from Bankhead Homes. And so while I'm there, I'm trying to kick this habit that's resurfaced all of a sudden because I'm no longer facing 54 years, but now everybody around me pretty much does it. So I'm in this little situation where I have to decide to stop. So my high school sweetheart pops up. I got a girl living with me. This is my girlfriend. My girlfriend living with me. My ex-fiance pops up. They're going at it at the dining room table. It's still funny. It's just, they were going at each other like 2 men with the same women. You understand what I'm saying? All right. So, but him showing up let me know that the decision that I had made to play this role was no longer necessary. Not only was I still eligible for a husband, but you know, I could. And so I ended up having to go back to prison. And you remember that recurring dream I was telling you about?
Yeah.
So when I was in prison, they made me see a psychiatrist because they were trying to say that I had certain diagnoses that I didn't feel like set well with me once I looked up the definition for what they were trying to diagnose me with.
Yeah.
Once I looked it up in the library, I was like, no, that don't fit me either. No, that ain't gonna work. So they was like, well, we're gonna sit you down with a psychiatrist. And so the whole time I kind of just played around, didn't pay her no attention, didn't care. The last session that we had, she was like, trust me with one thing. And I'm thinking, shoot, I had this dream all my life. It ain't like she gonna do nothing with it. So I tell her my dream. You know, I'm a baby. I hear somebody coming. I'm excited. The shadow comes in the door. And when the shadow picks me up, it goes black. And I just want to kill my father. I've killed him several different ways. You know, there's more than 1,000 ways to die, apparently.
Yeah.
You understand? So what do you think of that? And she told me, she said, that doesn't sound like a nightmare. That sounds like a memory. And when she said it, it was as if my soul broke. Like I could almost hear it. And so I'm fighting officers, I'm fighting inmates, I'm fighting everybody. And so they end up having to sedate me for like a week and keep me in isolation until I can process it's not a nightmare. It is a memory, you know, because I don't live with this man. I don't beat up his girlfriend. And this whole time I've been living with one of the people who hurt me. You understand what I'm saying? Thinking that he's a hero. But he's actually, you know, the reason why he had to be put out of the army was because of me. A doctor in the army noticed my abuse. They took him down from a judge back down to like somebody who could give orders to a battalion. They took him all the way back down. So all of his fighter pilot, all of his accolades, all of that went away because of what he was doing to me, right? And so knowing that and having spent time with him, I just kind of became overly violent for like a week. Like every time they had to come in and give me another shot, I was fighting teams of men and women, you know. So when I was in there and I finally got my head wrapped around it, these two girls introduced me to the Bible. It was like I respected them so much, I took their opinion seriously, you know. So they was like, you don't know the Bible? As smart as you are, you don't know the Bible. And I was like, nobody think about no religion, you know. So I got other things to do, like beat people up. So so they told me some stories out of the Bible. And I was like, that's not how that goes. Because I'm trying to think back to my childhood and pull up these memories of when I was in church and my uncle was the pastor. They was like, no, your version is incorrect, but we have a Bible right here. You can read it. So when I read it the first time, it was just to answer their questions.
Yeah.
But then I couldn't answer it effectively because they were asking intricate questions like, what do you think Job was going through, you know, while he was talking with his friends? Or what do you think caused Jonah to be in the whale? I'm like, girl, you know what I'm saying? So I had to read it again for comprehension and so I could answer the questions. So once I read it to where I could answer their questions, I realized what I had been missing, right? So I read it again because I'm like, now I'm just reading it for me. You know, like now it's just for me. And so when I got out of prison, I came home. My children, they had spent so much time away from me, they were unsure how to be my children. You understand? So as they were growing up, they got to see me be extremely depressed. When I came home, I was extremely depressed, you know. So While I'm sitting here going through my stuff, I had decided I'm gonna make a plan. I'm gonna kill myself, right? But I need an insurance company that'll pay out to my children a certain amount of money. So I do the research, I find the doggone insurance company, and just as I was about to call the insurance company, my children, who are both twins, come up to me as I'm outside smoking herbs and ask me if I would do anything for them. I'm like, heck yeah. You know what I'm saying? Say less. What you need? Some new shoes, some new clothes. And I'm like, no, we want you to get baptized. And I was like, shut up. So I laughed because I'm like, holding. You know what I'm saying? You asking me about what? I said, who told you about that? Because my daughter was asking me, but my son was co-signing. So I'm like, who told y'all about that? He was like, Ma, just answer the question. They didn't want to tell me, and I still don't know because they don't remember it. Who told them? But so we made a little plan. I was like, okay, if I get baptized, y'all got to get baptized. So my son went first. My daughter went next. When it came time for me to get baptized, I was terrified. Like if I put my toe in the water, there was going to be a nuclear explosion that would go from where I was all the way to Raleigh, North Carolina. Of all the stuff that I've done to other people, harming them, like I put a couple of females in a coma. I put a couple of guys in a coma, but I put a lot of people in the hospital. A lot of people, because I had to perfect this thing that was protecting me, is my excuse. But really, it was just, I like the anger, you know, since I'm a monster. Let me be a monster. So this monster is sitting here about to get baptized, and I'm like, as soon as I put my toe in there, we all gonna be gone. But at least my two children are now baptized, so they going to heaven, you know, because they ain't do nothing. They just babies, you know. Man, I put my toe in there. It felt like that baptism took a week. It felt like it took a week. When I came up, it felt like up on, you know how you put lotion on, so that's one layer. It felt like everything under that layer or in the midst of that layer was dying. Like somebody had poisoned me. You feel me? So the first thing it took care of was that jailhouse lifestyle. I was so grateful. I was sick of females, just sick of y'all. Just get up. That's the reason why I was trying to find the insurance company, because I'm like, I'm stuck with y'all. I want my husband. Get away from me. But then they just kept multiplying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I couldn't get away from it. But it was just so I can eat some zuzus and wham whams, because the food that they were serving as I worked in the kitchen said it was not fit for human consumption. So I'm sitting here and I got baptized and I'm going through the church and everybody's hugging me. They're excited and I'm just petrified because I'm thinking they don't trick me. You know, they don't low key kill me, you know. So I go home and I just remember it took about 9 days for that feeling of death to go away. And so once I started it, I was like, well, there's no need to halfway do it. Let me jump all the way in. And so, you know how when you first go to the gym, you think everybody need to go to the gym. Like you start seeing little love handles on other people. Like, come on, you need to go to the gym. So come on, let's go to the gym. So it was just like God was that for me, you know. So I tried to push it on any and everybody I could, especially my children, because we had made this commitment together. So I definitely wanted you to know what I was learning and take it, you know, and love it like I do. Love it like I do, I said, you know, it's just, I was excited.
Yeah.
Because for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like a monster. I didn't feel like anger was everything. And so, let me see. After I got baptized, he changed my life. He changed my character. And then I went through empty nesting. Empty nesting was terrible. It's the worst thing. Well, it's one of the worst things I've had to experience. My children deciding they're ready to leave. And it just feels like I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have a reason to get up. What am I cooking for? Who's going to eat it? You know what I'm saying? It was just like, I can't just walk in the room and get a hug. I can't just go in here and be in their space while they're doing whatever they're doing. It was as if someone had taken a leg per child and I was there as far as usefulness. I felt like I didn't have nothing else to give the world. It was an adjustment. So my children came up with this idea of getting me a hobby. So my hobby is self-improvement. And I think it has to do a lot with the commitment that I made to God, because he's brought me out of and changed so much. Like now, it's as if the anger that I perfected, the anger that I worked hard to have, the violence that I would dish out for no reason is in like this enclosure. And the only person who could open it is either me defending myself or God. Like I don't even get to open the door, just to go in there and pet it a little bit. You know, is literally out of my reach. But it can be turned on, to defend myself. So I can't say that I have done anything as significant as getting to know God. It is by far the best decision I've made. I've had a lot of decisions that I made because of my traumas that were really self-harming. Like I used to cut my arm with a razor to try to get my anger to calm down. I used to just do weird things like cutting myself. I would bang my head up against the wall. It was just all types of little things that I would do to try to turn the anger off when I didn't want it on. But I had let it grow on so much, it was his own self. You understand what I'm saying? So he was able to capture that. I was able to change my character and just make better decisions. So as soon as I could, I decided I wanted my own business. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no clue about a future. I had never thought about a future. All I had was to look for back then was my children. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up having cancer. So the first time they just took some abscesses, and I was like, okay, that's fine, that's good. And then the next time they had to take a whole system. And so during that time, I was also exposed to toxic mold. I had like this black ring around my neck. All my hair came out. I probably weighed a good 97 pounds. But then a friend of mine from Georgia, who is from Guyana, told me to take this whole list of vitamins. And so I ended up taking the vitamins, drinking everything, eating everything with garlic. And so now I'm cancer free. Um, twice. And then the toxic mold kind of rolled back. And I guess it's gone. I don't, it's not nothing on there now.
Mm-hmm.
But when I say there is more to the story, but I know it's a time limit. There is more to it, but it's just an extended nutshell. But if I have time, I did want to send out a message.
Oh, that's perfect, because that's what we do. That's like our tradition.
Okay.
So for look into either camera when you tell your message, and for anybody out there that's okay, this camera right here. Okay. Anybody out there that's going through the same thing, or maybe going through the same thing, or anybody that can relate to anything in your story, just say what you got to say to them in this camera right here.
Okay. First of all, I want to let you know that not only are you not alone, but you have the opportunity to be a survivor. It may sound simple. It will sound extremely simple, but to do it is extremely hard. Okay? So let's start. The first thing you'd have to do is forgive the person that harmed you. The next thing is forgive yourself for not being able to protect yourself from that harm. It's very important that you do that because it's one of the things that I forgot about, forgiving myself for not being able to continue my fight to stop my rape. You understand? You have to forgive yourself for not being in the position to protect yourself from the harm that you received. It's okay, but you got to forgive yourself because many times we forget to. You need to build up your confidence. And so the best way I want you to do that is in the mirror. You can say it in your mind, you can say it out loud, but I want you to tell yourself positive things until you become cocky. Not arrogant. Arrogant, you went too far. But cocky. So that when you walk into a room, you don't have to worry about what this person thinks of you or what that person thinks of you. You own this room. Until you are there, when you're walking down the street and you can keep your head right here, you're not done yet. Just keep doing it, you know. And that's also how I went about forgiving. So for 45 days, forgive other people, forgive yourself, and encourage yourself to be the boss that you really are. Because as a survivor, you have to always know you own every space that you enter, every space. Otherwise, you're still a victim. And that's no life. It's like a walking cage. Commit yourself to a higher power. It doesn't really matter which one. I chose Christianity and then I went to believer status because it's not really about the church I attend. It's about my knowledge of the Bible and other religions. Like I studied all of them and then I chose Christianity. But you really need to find what's best for you. But you need to believe in something higher so that you know that there's something else out there working in your favor to help you through, to get you to your survivorship and not keep you in victimship. And then stop looking for perfect people. There are none. There was one. They put them in the Bible, but there ain't no more. Okay? And then date yourself. Discover your strengths, your weaknesses, and flaws. Be good with all of it or change what you don't want. Do research on long-term effects of your trauma. Identify the symptoms and fix it. Because there is this culture now of being overly sexual, hypersexual. And it's been told to me that the millennials believe it's because they were CSA'd a lot as children. Do your research. Find out what is a symptom, fix it. Everything else you can keep. You understand what I'm saying? But you don't want to dwell in your symptoms because they are self-harming. And you're just fighting against yourself to be yourself. All right. And then set boundaries, beliefs, and be what you expect from others in a positive way. The memory of what happened will not disappear, but it will become manageable. It's called coping. You have to allow yourself to feel it, to cry, and to understand the situation as it was for what it was. Cry enough to where when you think about it, you can speak about it without tears. Okay? I can do mine without tears as long as I don't have to go into details. If I have to go into details, that's a whole different matter. But get there. Get there. And then don't harm others because it is your choice. Just because you were sexually assaulted doesn't mean that you can go and sexually assault or harm another. Stop it. All you have to do is make the choice not to. Eventually, it can go away. If that's the reason why you're drawn to it. If you're just a creep, then you're just a creep. But if you have sexual trauma, you're only trying to harm someone else sexually because of your trauma. So you have a choice. And then talk about what happened until the tears, the anger, the emotions, everything is manageable. Love yourself. Trauma survivors and all, you're freaking awesome. Own it. And that's my final thought.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, I just want to say thank you for giving us your time, and I also want to say thank you for being so willing to tell your story. I know it wasn't easy, and you lived through it. You telling it without crying, and you also helping others. And we just really appreciate that, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. We really thank you for coming out and telling your story.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
All right, so that wraps up another episode of What's Your Story?